What is a Born Alive Certificated Person? Intro by Charlene. Musicians for Freedom, updated December 23, 2018. This is the introductory article to a multi-part article. Part 1a, Part 1b, Part 2, Part 3. Are you creative? An infant is the decedent of an estate or grantor, owner or truster of a trust, guardianship, receivership or custodianship that has yet to receive an SSN. IRS Manual 21.7.13.3.2.2. I've been researching this IRS blurb, watching films and studying ideas from fellow writers and activists for many years. While we don't always agree, their work has been a fertile source of inspiration. I know, indeed, that some honest men fear that a Republican government cannot be strong, that this government is not strong enough, but would the honest patriot, in the full tide of successful experiment, abandon a government which has so far kept us free and firm on the theoretic and visionary fear that this government, the world's best hope, may by possibility want energy to preserve itself? I trust not. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Who's Her Daddy? Harry Pater. Beast ownership ban continues in U.S. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Who's Her Daddy? Harry Pater. Beast ownership ban continues in U.S. I believe this, on the contrary, the strongest government on earth, the only one where every man, at the call of the law, would fly to the standard of the law, and would meet invasions of the public order as his own personal concern. Sometimes it is said that man cannot be trusted with the government of himself. Can he, then, be trusted with the government of others? Or have we found angels in the forms of kings to govern him? Let history answer this question. Thomas Jefferson's first inaugural address, March 4, 1801. A spacecraft traveling to a distant colony planet and transporting thousands of people has a malfunction in its sleep chambers. As a result, 2 passengers are awakened 90 years early. Passengers 2016. Matt Lanter, Abigail Spencer and Malcolm Barrett are a trio of time travelers trying to stop a criminal who stole another time travel vehicle from destroying America as we know it. Check it out, Timeless TV series 2016-2018. What is a fiction of law? If you've given your mind over to their characters, you've lost your mind. Kurt Kallenbach.
I like to at least prove to people that it's not just me making stuff up. This is I got a Black's Law 5th edition in front of me. Page 167, under Born Alive. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read something that will actually prove that the product, the stuff that came out after Baby Curtis, is also is the problem. It's the problem that Mandel House spoke of. It's Born Alive. This is the definition. Being the product of conception after complete expulsion or extraction from mother, irrespective of the duration of the pregnancy, which breathes or shows any other evidence of life, such as beating of the heart, pulsation in the umbilical cord, or definite movement of voluntary muscles, whether or not the umbilical cord has been cut or the placenta is attached. But here's the key line. It says, each product of such birth is considered live-born and fully recognized as a human person. A human person. So everything that came out of mother, besides me, is a human person. So the waste material, legally, is a human person. Now tell me that it doesn't fit perfectly into the biological property, the registration of biological property. By the way, there can be no paper on me. There can be no paper on Curtis, because that would be a document of slavery. The birth record is not on me. It's an event. It's a record of an event, not a thing. Remember, this whole talk about, what I'm going to talk about tonight is the principle of the thing. What I'm describing right now is the thing. The thing. Remember, names are for things. I'm describing the thing, and it's the biological thing. Now, ask yourself this: did that material that came out of mother after me, is it possible? Was it even capable of self-sustaining life? Did it have a heart, lungs, brain? Did it breathe? Did it do anything? No, it absolutely did not. Was it alive when it came out of mother? Absolutely, it was alive. But was it going to stay alive? No, it wasn't. In fact, if you look up the definition of decedent, all it means is dying. So that afterbirth material, that waste DNA, that was dying the moment it arrived. It was a decedent the moment it arrived, a legal decedent. It was dying. And what did they do with that? The remains, the stuff that was left behind as abandoned property. They gave it a name. And that name was the name that was on the paperwork that my mother, as author, but my mother filled out. Curtis Richard Kallenbach. Curtis Richard Kallenbach. That's the name of the afterbirth material. Now, the funny thing is, does that material match me? Does the afterbirth match me? Well, there's two sides to that. Number one, the chorion, which is my exact, well, it's a twin genetically, but obviously it didn't turn into a twin. It became something, it became afterbirth material. But that's the fetal afterbirth, which is called the chorion. That does match me genetically. But what about the maternal placenta, the maternal afterbirth? No. That is pure product of mom, and that does not have any biological father at all. So, depending on what they do with that genetic material, Curtis Richard Kallenbach, I've been told this, by the way, is female, genetically female, which means it's a product of mother alone. A product of mother alone. Think about that. When dad lays with mom, when his sperm fertilizes mom's ovum, that action right there, that fertilization, that zygote that's created, that's the whole thing right there. But when that zygote, when it gets planted in the uterine walls, mom creates all the other material around it to feed oxygen and everything else, and nutrients. That's all mother product. There is no biological father to that. Does it remind you of anything? Like, I don't know, the story of Jesus? I'm just throwing it out there. So when this this fatherless afterbirth material, which is pure mom, think about this, pure mom, no biological father. It's an immaculate conception. No earthly father to that other child, which they even legally call born alive. Each product of such birth is considered live-born and fully recognized as a human person. But that one that came out after me has no biological father. It's pure mom. Pure mom. Anyway, what I'm trying to do is I'm pointing out that my mindset, I was no longer stuck in the idea, in the what I've been told or what I've been taught. And slowly but surely, everything started to make sense to me, even biblically.
And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Gen. 25-23. The fertile octogenarian and unborn widow are fictitious characters that come up in legal estate planning when applying the rule against perpetuities. From the Latin word infans, meaning unable to speak or speechless, infant is the more formal or specialized synonym for baby, which is the very young offspring of a human. The term may also be used to refer to juveniles of other organisms. An introduction to cladistics. Private property, unless forfeited by crimes or by offenses of the owner, can be seized only by way of military necessity, for the support or other benefit of the Army or of the United States. If the owner has not fled, the commanding officer will cause receipts to be given, which may serve the spoliated owner to obtain indemnity. General Orders No. 100, the Lieber Code, Article 38. The right to travel, a fundamental right of citizenship. If a citizen's liberty to travel is to be regulated, it must be pursuant to the lawmaking functions of Congress. Any delegation of the power must be subject to adequate standards, and such delegated authority will be narrowly construed. Kent v. Dulles, 1958. Right now, it's the wild, wild west because there is a lack of legal rules regarding the use of facial recognition in the states and at the federal level, generally speaking. I have entirely failed to perceive how it is that the passenger in a public conveyance becomes identified, in any legal sense, with the driver of such conveyance. Such identification could result only in one way, that is, by considering such driver the servant of the passenger. Joint Enterprise Doctrine in Automobile Law, April, 1931, by Joseph Weintraub. Our mothers are bus drivers. No, they are the bus. See, they're the vehicle that gets us here. They drop us off and go on their way. The problem is that we keep trying to get back in the bus, instead of just letting it go. Tony Soprano. Section 7(b) of the Privacy Act requires that any federal, state or local government agency which requests an individual to disclose his Social Security account number shall inform that individual whether that disclosure is mandatory or voluntary, by what statutory or other authority such number is solicited, and what uses will be made of it. States must inform individuals that the disclosure is mandatory, that it is based on Section 466 of the Social Security Act, that it will be used under the state's Child Support Enforcement Program to locate individuals for purposes of establishing paternity and establishing, modifying, and enforcing support obligations. David Gray Ross, Commissioner, Office of Child Support Enforcement 42 U.S.C. 666 of 13. Angel, an ancient English coin, of the value of 10 shillings sterling. Black's Law, 5th ed. What is a settler? Documentary material means any book, paper, document, writing, drawing, graph, chart, photograph, phonorecord, magnetic tape, computer printout, other data compilation from which information can be obtained or from which information can be translated into usable form, or other functionally similar tangible item. Person means any individual or entity holding or capable of holding a legal or beneficial interest in property. CRS 18-17-103. A person who knowingly sells, recruits, harbors, transports, transfers, isolates, entices, provides, receives, or obtains by any means another person for the purpose of coercing the other person to perform labor or services commits human trafficking for involuntary servitude. Human trafficking for involuntary servitude is a Class 3 felony, except that human trafficking of a minor for involuntary servitude is a Class 2 felony. CRS 18 March 503. The X-Files Season 11 Episode 10 My Struggle IV, script, IMDb. Twinkle, twinkle, little stars. Why are more babies being born in prison? And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. Heb. 9:27. The report of my death was an exaggeration. Mark Twain, 1897. While the SSA number's main purpose is to track contributions, it has also become a de facto form of national identification. The rights in question are not the gift of enlightened government nor an offshoot of the Magna Carta nor some sort of compact or social contract. The rights were there all along, and no government can claim validity or authenticity or the fidelity of the governed unless it is based on just this recognition. Everything which is not given is reserved by the people, whose possession of rights owes nothing to the nation they have set out to form. Do the people of the United States form a nation? State laws use the phrase unclaimed dead bodies to refer to people who have died without identification and whose remains have not been collected by relatives or others prepared to provide for burial or other final disposition. Homeless Law Blog. About 12,200 people are erroneously declared dead every year by the U.S. government, Smithsonian Magazine. Are who the worker, the spouse or the child? All of the above, or none of the above? Types of beneficiaries. While an unborn child's life is not protected, her rights to property are protected. The property of a parent dying intestate, without a will, immediately vests in the unborn child. Gifts that cannot be passed to the person specified in a will, due to death or for other reasons, are considered a part of the residuary estate. Reservation for security, Section 2-401. They which shall be accounted worthy to obtain that world, and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry, nor are given in marriage. Luke chapter 20 verse 34. But the Internal Revenue Code refers to married persons and only human beings marry. Tax Protester FAQ. Are you sure you want to be a human being? I am not a person, are you? Are you a non-taxpayer? The contract is for the sale of unborn young to be born within 12 months after contracting or for the sale of crops to be harvested within 12 months or the next normal harvest season after contracting, whichever is longer. UCC sect. 22501. After your father's murder, you were orphaned. You went to live with cousins on a sheep and horse ranch in Montana. And? The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. The Silence of the Sheeple, mashup video. No private person has a right to complain, by suit in court, on the ground of a breach of the Constitution. The Constitution, it is true, is a compact, but he is not a party to it. The states are the parties to it. And they may complain. If they do, they are entitled to redress. Paddleford, Fay & Co., Reports of Cases in Law and Equity, argued and determined in the Supreme Court of Georgia, p. 520, pdf. The enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny, impair or disparage others retained by the people. U.S. and Colorado Constitutions, Colorado Secretary of State. Prince v. United States, 1997. What is a birth certificate? Freedom River. According to international law, a country has exclusive fishing rights to its territorial waters. Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Matt. 419. Check out Products of American Fisheries, 1 U.S. Code 6. In the film, The Shape of Water 2017, Elisa, a woman who can't speak, works in a government facility in Baltimore. The SSA is headquartered just to the west of Baltimore. Check out SSA, Palms, RSO 2101.600. Dedicated accounts for disabled, blind SSI recipients under age 18. Her official surname, Esposito, means orphan. She was found as a baby by a river with scars on her neck where her voice box was cut. The scars on Elisa's neck explain her inability to speak, but also hint at a tragic backstory. Visually, they connect with the gills of the amphibian man and connect her bath with her underwater dream. Her bath, just like infant baptism, establishes that she is a sexual being before she even meets the acid. Read more. In the movie poster, we notice Elisa is losing one of her shoes, like Cinderella. Where does your property go without a will? We might determine if he was dead before he went into the river. Sleepy Hollow, 1999, script. The property of a parent dying without a will immediately vests in the unborn child as to real estate and as to personal property. Unborn children today have their property rights protected by a guardian ad litem. But this guardian cannot take any action to preserve the unborn child's life. Legal rights of unborn children in North Carolina. Also, read about deeds and transfer of title. I've fallen and I can't get up. This is the way the world ends, not with a bang but a whimper. The Hollow Men by T.S. Eliot. If you saw Michael Moore's documentary Capitalism, A Love Story, you may have been surprised to learn about a common practice among large companies, corporate-owned life insurance policies, also called corporate death insurance, dead peasant, or dead janitor policies. COLI policies are life insurance policies taken out by employers on their employees. Upon the death of the employee, benefits are payable to the company, not to the family or any other beneficiaries that might be designated by the employee. Read more. Up until the latter part of the 19th century, the emphasis in the accounting literature was on the recording of property or effects, commonly understood to be things or rights which were exchangeable for cash. The aim of this paper is to trace changes in the definitional concept of assets. Assets in Accounting, Reality Lost, Accounting Historian's Journal. A. B. Trust. Types of inter vivos trusts or testamentary trusts used by married couples. In this type of living trust, two trusts, Trust A and Trust B, are created at the time the first spouse dies. By dividing the couple's estate into two trusts at the first death, each spouse can pass the maximum amount of property allowed to avoid federal estate taxes. One trust, often Trust A, would be referred to as the marital deduction trust, and the other trust, often Trust B, would be referred to as the credit shelter trust. Read more. Glossary. The trustee's legal companion. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Matt. 25-27. As the personal representative, you may be liable to the beneficiaries for any loss to the estate and for any gain the estate should have realized but did not. So now you are a personal representative. Colorado Bar Assoc. The final scene in the movie entails the police showing up and simply asking, "Is this your house?" He smiles and replies, "It is now." Delirium 2018, Review. What is the bride's chair, the Olympic rings logo, the open scroll? Space and Metaphor, Essays, Becoming, regarded in all its aspects, includes growth and procreation as much as death and persists as an earthly, sullying process of inconsequent beginnings, obscured innocence, fallen ideals. Nietzsche and Eros between the devil and God's deep blue sea. A specific gift will fail by ademption if the subject matter of the gift does not form part of the testator's estate at death. What is ademption? What is abrogation? In 1963, Victor Gruen gave a painting to his son for his 21st birthday. While ownership of the painting was given to his son in 1963, the elder Gruen continued to hang it in his living room and even paid for insurance and repairs. Can a valid inter vivos gift of a chattel be made where the donor has reserved a life estate in the chattel and the donee never has had physical possession of it before the donor's death? Affirmed. Born alive, this term applies to a small and newly delivered child with a heartbeat but does not establish a regular breathing and dies within minutes of being born. Black's Law. Read more online. The decedent died on June 8, 1968. Letters were issued to 3 executors, 2 of whom were also trustees under the deed of trust. Understandably, some time was required for the trustees to prepare their account and transfer property to the executors. The shares of stock and some bonds were transferred on March 28, 1969, United States bonds, on May 15, 1969 and most of the other bonds, on September 30, 1968. Subject to constitutional limitations, each state has the power to determine the disposition of a decedent's property within its borders. Read more. In 1990, the Supreme Court of California held that a person had no action for conversion of his own body parts excised from him, though he might have an action for breach of fiduciary obligation insofar as the doctor exploited the part for his own profit without consent. Potential value of an excised organ or cell is usually discovered only through subsequent experimentation or research, often months or years after the removal of the organ. In this case, however, the complaint alleges that plaintiff's doctor recognized the peculiar research and commercial value of plaintiff's cells before their removal from plaintiff's body. Moore v. Regents of Univ. of California. Between Beneficence and Chattel, the Human Biological in Law and Science. Property Rights and the Human Body. When you cuddle alone, you cuddle with Hitler. Voluntary partition was not possible at common law because of the fictional unity of husband and wife. He power to convert real estate into money against the will of the owner, is an extraordinary and dangerous power, and ought never to be exercised unless the necessity therefore is clearly established. Vesper v. Farnsworth, 40 Wis. 357, 362, 1876. A partition is a term used in the law of real property to describe an act, by a court order or otherwise, to divide up a concurrent estate into separate portions representing the proportionate interests of the owners of property. It is sometimes described as a forced sale. The petitioner, Ms. Reed, the mother of a deceased child, petitioner, alleges a statute that prefers males over females in the administration of an estate to which they both have equal claims, violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Administration of the estate of a person dying intestate must be granted to some one or more of the persons hereinafter mentioned, and they are respectively entitled thereto in the following order: 1. The surviving husband or wife or some competent person whom he or she may request to have appointed. 2. The children. 3. The father or mother. 4. The brothers. 5. The sisters. 6. The grandchildren. 7. The next of kin entitled to share in the distribution of the estate. 8. Any of the kindred. 9. The public administrator. 10. The creditors of such person at the time of death. 11. Any person legally competent. If the decedent was a member of a partnership at the time of his decease, the surviving partner must in no case be appointed administrator of his estate. Reed v. Reed, 404 U.S. 71, 1971. Surely bureaucrats can be trusted to rightly divide the word of truth? Cutting the cake, rules of intestacy. Surely the so-called government authorities can be trusted to rightly divide the word of truth? Cut the cake, or is it a pizza? We finally got a piece of the pie. Theme song from the Jeffersons sung by Jeanette Dubois. What happened at Pizzagate? To pie or not to pie? Why Tao trumps pi. Also, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's Amore. Video. Known Amorides wrote in a dialect of Akkadian found on tablets at Mari dating from 1800 to 1750 BC. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, "It is finished," and he bowed his head, and gave up the ghost. John chapter 19 verse 30. What is a structured settlement factoring transaction? Read Sect. 5891. Withdrawals are most commonly done if the parties reach a settlement prior to a decision on the matter. What is a motion to dismiss? The term Amorites is used to refer to certain highland mountaineers who inhabited the land of Canaan, described in Gen. 10:16 as descendants of Canaan, the son of Ham. It's a family feud. An immortal Scottish swordsman must confront the last of his immortal opponents, a murderously brutal barbarian who lusts for the fabled prize in Highlander 1986. What is Nali Proseki? From the eternal sea he rises. The Omen 1976 inasmuch as our common law has gone thus far in ascribing legal personality to the unborn infant, why should it not, under certain qualifications, likewise give a remedy to the child if, through the defendant's negligence, it has sustained personal injuries? What should, therefore, be the rule as to prenatal torts? Can it be maintained that immediately after conception, whether the infant later is born alive or not, the infant in utero is a legal person? Recognition of New Interests in the Law of Torts 1922. It is said, at the beginning of time, priests were to work day and night at their task, and when they were done, the Tower of Baby El would crumble and the world would end. Here's concrete mathematics. Serious observers of modern contracting concede that the current state of the world is disclosure overload. The perverse consequences of disclosing standard terms. Having cracked the first two of what turn out to be a whole sequence of secret codes, Robert Langdon and Sophie Neveu find themselves on a fast-paced adventure in the Da Vinci Code 2006 that eventually threatens their lives as they uncover a sinister conspiracy within the Roman Catholic Church. It's a fire sale. Read more, SEC. It's a fantastic plot that intertwines art history and 2,000 years of church politics. Read more, discover. Read more, The Lost Symbol. Read about the Catholic Mutual Relief Society of America. Asset, a legal word meaning sufficient estate to satisfy debts and legacies. Non-probate property, i.e., life insurance policies, do not abate debts and legacies. Also, Wharton's Law Lexicon. Computer programs, to the extent that they embody an author's original creation, are proper subject matter of copyright. Some works are not covered by copyright, and are therefore in the public domain, among them the formulae of Newtonian physics and cooking recipes. How about spirit cooking? Some 50 years before Watson and Crick discovered DNA, the Australian case of Dudeward v Spence 1908-6 C.L.R. 496 concerned a dispute over a two-headed fetus, which had been preserved and bought for an exhibition. And he laughs until he cries, then he dies, then he dies. Carn Evil 9, ELP. American Horror Story, Freak Show Season 4 Episode 6 Bullseye American Horror Story, Freak Show Season 4 Episode 6, Bullseye and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. 2 Cor. 1114, the court held that it could be distinguished from a corpse because of the lawful exercise of work and skill that had been rendered to the fetus in order to preserve it. This allowed a property right to vest in the person who performed the procedure and it entitled them to keep the material in their possession. The law of conversion, detinue and trespass. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. The false prophet Dollar has the power to make the image of the Antichrist come to life and speak. Rev. 13. The Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse, Patrick Heron. A framework for the collection, retention and use of human body parts. Circumcision in Australia, reforming the law. What, exactly, is an excise tax? Foreplay? Foreskin? Forensic image acquisition? What is a disk image? The first sale doctrine is primarily a limitation on the copyright owner's exclusive right of distribution. It does not limit the exclusive right of reproduction. Executive Summary, DCMA. The Banker's Blueprint to Destroy American Sovereignty. Male and Phi-male energy triangles wanted, escaping pizza, air or higher. O.R. Her? Also, her 2013 script. What is the hieros gamos? Are you wearing the white robes of the One? Can our own bodies spy on us? A woman interviews various people using a device that allows her to access their memories. Black Mirror 2011 Crocodile. No sooner had Codger settled into his wood shavings than he witnessed the murder of his adorable baby roommate, chosen one of the day, that traumatized guinea pig. Eye in the Sky, Alan Parsons, For Your Eyes Only 1981, Private Eyes, Daryl Hall and John Oates. Check out this informative article, The Nomenclature of Enslaved Africans as Real Property or Chattels. Personal, legal fiction, judicial interpretation, legislative designation, or was a slave by any other name by Roy W. Copeland, Journal of Black Studies. Apparently, the law has the lost little sheeple, in the rather unsatisfactory situation of not having a property right in our own bodies, yet another person has the ability to generate a property right in the products from our bodies. Property rights in the human body, here. So, what about the First Amendment? Cyclopedia of the Law of Private Corporations, Handbook of Common Law Pleading. And their whole body, and their backs, and their hands, and their wings, and the wheels, were full of eyes. Ezekiel chapter 10 verse 12. As of this year, Article 2, Section 26 of the Colorado Constitution will now read, "There shall never be in this state either slavery or involuntary servitude." Time. The previous language was strongly opposed by local activists like Jumoke Emery, a lead organizer with Abolish Slavery Colorado, one of the groups that has worked alongside the state ACLU and NAACP to build support for the new amendment. Had the alchemist succeeded in forming any concrete idea of his unconscious contents, he would have been obliged to recognize that he had taken the place of Christ, or, to be more exact, that he, regarded not as ego but as self, had taken over the work of redeeming not man but God. He would then have had to recognize not only himself as the equivalent of Christ, but Christ as a symbol of the self. C. G. Jung. Enoch's constellations testify of Christ's seraphim, cherubim and the four living creatures. Enoch's constellations. Don't the Hollywood vampires cover this classic? 5-1, 1 in 5. No one here gets out alive. They got the guns, but we got the numbers, gonna win, yeah, we're taking over. The Doors. Music is your special friend, dance on fire as it intends. Cancel my subscription to the Resurrection, Dangerous Minds. Advanced sciences derived from harmonic theory. What happens at the 59th row of Pascal's triangle? Andrew Granville. Exploring patterns in Pascal's triangle. The golden angle is very important if you are a plant. Also, infinity codes. 137.5 equals 11/8. My soul is spiraling in frozen fractals. Frozen 2013, script. Crafty moms. Frozen fractal snowflakes. The golden angle. The golden ratio and fine structure constant. The unify cation of mathematics and physics. Why 137? Magic square of the Sun 111 and 666 horizontal, vertical and diagonal rows sum to 111 in the magic square of the Sun. No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes. And no one knows what it's like to be hated, to be fated to telling only lies. Behind Blue Eyes, The Who. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 2017 opens with the usual story. He left his home and went his lone and solitary way, and he gave to me a gift I know I never can repay. He's a quiet man of music, denied a simpler fate. He tried to be a soldier like his twin brother, recall Jerry Shaw, but his music wouldn't wait. Jump Jerry. Interference theory, Music 101. As the pentacle is shown to have a relationship with 1.618, the sexagesimal hexagram has a relationship to 3.14159, that other magical number. Is the Washington Monument really 55.5 feet by 12 inches per foot equals 666 inches wide? Read Strange Eye. So, he earned his love through discipline, a thundering, velvet hand. His gentle means of sculpting souls took me years to understand. The mathematical definition of a magic square is an arrangement of distinct integers in a square grid in which the integers of each row, column and diagonal all add up to the same number. Their use in mathematics and mysticism is well documented in Asia as early as the 7th century BCE. The number of the beast. The numbers 1 to 36 sum to 666. They are also used in the very popular gambling game of roulette. How is 111 related to 666? 11D1 and the magic square of the sun, Marty leads. Also, planetary magical squares. Hebrew numbers 1 to 10. Super golden ratio and cattle populations 111. Super golden ratio and cattle populations a gift I can't repay. G like the national debt? What is a governing instrument? A trumpet? Like the little boy going to play that note in Eagle Eye 2009? Seals, trumpets and bowls, oh my. His blood runs through my instrument and his song is in my soul. My life has been a poor attempt to imitate the man, I'm just a living legacy to the leader of the band. Leader of the band, Dan Fogelberg. Heil. There's power in the blood, video. The Fibonacci sequence holds pride of place in a wide-ranging family of similar sequences. A spectacular member of the family is one we may associate with a cattle population problem. Instead of Fibonacci's rabbit pairs which transform in 1 month from young pair to mature pair which then start breeding, there is an intermediate stage in the maturation process as cattle pairs progress from young pairs to immature pairs and then to mature pairs. It is only the mature pairs which can reproduce. The cattle sequence is 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 13, 19, 28, 41, 60, 88, 129, 189, 277, 406, 595, thus the generation skips a value, so for example, 41 equals 28 plus 13 and 60 equals 41 plus 19. This sequence has similar properties to the Fibonacci sequence. For the cattle sequence, the ratios obtained by dividing a term by its preceding term approach the limit denoted by the Greek letter psi, written psi, where psi equals 1.4655571231876768026665. This is known as the supergolden ratio. 50 Math Ideas, Tony Crilly. The Human Project Lives poster, Children of Men 2006, The Human Project Lives, Children of Men 2006. The first 6 Ripley clones were failures. However, with each successive attempt the USM scientists refined their cloning process and created more biologically viable creatures, moving closer towards their ultimate goal of retrieving a stable queen embryo. Failed Ripley clones, Xenopedia. The mysterious Mr. Cray has been sent to Karen Base to check out research director Ernst Kleist's genetic experiments on aliens. Kleist is trying to breed the beasties into something useful, something that humans can control. But workers on Karen are starting to disappear one by one, and Kleist definitely knows more about it than he's letting on. Aliens, Rogue 1993. Aristotle explains, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. In the beginning was the Word and it became flesh. Really? What word, exactly? Surely abomination of desolation is applicable. Let us, then, go down and confound their speech there, so that they shall not understand one another's speech. The double etymology of Babel in Genesis chapter 11, also this video. Rip, Chuck Missler, K-House TV, This Satanic World, video, The Origin of Evil Session 1, video, Session 2, video, Vatican Pope in the Book of Revelation, video. Dr. John Barnett, Truth About Roman Catholicism, playlist. This message is for you, yes you. Pastor Charles Lawson, video. Failed Ripley clones, alien film franchise. We are left with an incoherent doctrine that deems our bodily material to be property only once it is separated from us, which allows us to convey good title to some of our body parts and products to others and even designate what will become of our body once we are deceased, yet denies that we own our whole and living bodies. The Law of the Body by Meredith M. Render, also, a response. The story is set in the year 2027, where the past 2 decades have left mankind with infertility causing societies slowly to collapse. Women have become infertile and can no longer procreate and have been unable to do so for 18 years. Children of Men 2006. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. 2 Thess. 2-7. A futures contract binds a buyer and seller to an agreement to exchange a specific quantity and grade of a commodity. The exchange is at an agreed-upon price and delivery is set at a particular future time. In the imperfect world, the basis is affected by factors beyond the control of futures market participants. What is narrow basis? Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. James chapter 1 verse 16, the impostor agent, by assuming to be an agent, has assumed a character or title not his own. Impostors and fraudulent procurement of negotiable instrument. IRS response to an April 3, 2008 letter requesting a ruling on the generation skipping transfer (GST) tax consequences of an amendment to a trust. An executor of a decedent's estate who seeks to be discharged from personal liability may elect a lien in favor of the United States in lieu of the bonds required by Sections 2204 and 6165. This election is available only if, at the time of death, the decedent was a citizen or resident of the United States. Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. In forming a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this: you must first enable government to control the governed, and in the next place oblige it to control itself. James Madison, The Federalist No. 51. Does being saved from hell hold any value? What happens to a life insurance policy when the owner is dead? A gift will fail if a beneficiary predeceases the testator. A gift also fails if the beneficiary is guilty of the unlawful killing of the testator. Read Failure of Gifts. I'm Not Quite Dead Yet. Rethinking the Anti-Lapse Distribution of a Dead Beneficiary's Gift. Saturnine Constellations and Melancholy. It is a well-known fact that there is a new sucker born every second, and this is fortunate for the captains of America. Saturn, Kronos, aka Father Time, eats his own children. All papal coins, with rare exceptions, bear the name of the Pope. After the 16th century, the coat of arms of the Pope alone frequently appears on pontifical coins. There are also found images of the Savior, or of saints, symbolical figures of men or of animals. Read about the galleries of tombs of the Apis bulls. In the film, The Shape of Water 2017, after the creature has ripped out two of the sadistic Strickland's fingers, he tortures him with a cattle prod. Finger avulsion is a rare and grave injury. The tearing away of a structure or part either accidentally or surgically. What is avulsion? Osiris Green Skin Osiris Green Man, father of posthumous Horus. What is life? Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life, no man cometh unto the Father, but by me. John chapter 14 verse 6. According to Thomas P. Callinas and Lawrence W. Wagoner, estates, future interests, and powers of appointment in a nutshell, 6th ed., of measuring life must be a human life. The life of a corporation, plant or animal cannot be used. Until a time and times and the dividing of time. Dan. 725. Present verses. Future interests, a graphic explanation. The Act classifies livestock as a commodity without enumerating which particular species are the subject of futures trading. Commodity Futures Trading Commission v. My Big Coin Pay, Inc. et al. Intentional acts against a quickened fetus resulting in the death of a child born alive constitute murder, but acts resulting in a stillbirth constitute a lesser crime. Constitutional challenges to fetal homicide statute. Some pointed out that evidence of breathing is not conclusive because that function may begin before the infant is fully born. Keeler v. Superior Court, 470 p. 2d 617 Cal. 1970. David Bowie, 30 Essential Songs, Fame 1975. What's the difference between famous and infamous? The names Abraham, Isaac and Jacob often feature in films from Marvel, to DC Comics, to Harry Potter. Abe Sapiens is a humanoid amphibious man, discovered in a Washington, D.C. basement in November of 1978. Abe has been with the Bureau ever since, as he endeavors to discover the truth about his identity. Abraham Sapien, Hellboy.